Hello, subscribers. This is yours truly, JBlue68, coming to you with yet another video. This is going to be a comic book haul video. And before I get into this comic book haul, I want to say thank you to my subscribers. Thank you for subscribing to my channel, for liking, sharing, and commenting. Please continue to do the same. And tap the notification bell so you can get more videos like this as I post them immediately. This comic book haul will consist of the big two, which are both DC Comics and Marvel. And some of the comic books in here I actually picked up at Motor City Comic Con, and I will note what those books are as we go through this haul. Okay, so we start off first though with From the Dawn of DC, Green Lantern issue number 1. I've heard nothing but good vibes and good reviews about this book. I haven't read it yet, and this will be my first Green Lantern book in a long time. When I started, or I won't say when I started, I'll say when I was really getting back into comic books, Green Lantern was actually one of the books that I was really so enthused in getting into during the time that DC was coming out with the Green Lantern Corps, when they did brightest darkest day, brightest night. I think that was that title. I've always been a Green Lantern fan, and there was a fan that I met over, this past weekend at Motor City Comic Con, and we got into a big discussion about Green Lantern. And I know that, of course, James Gunn is about to redo the DC Universe, and one thing I hope to see is a full-fledged movie, a legit film done on the Green Lantern. Whether it be Kyle Rayner or what's the other Lantern's name, John Stewart, or both. But to me, for the Green Lantern, I hope they don't force the character into the Justice League. I hope that he's gradually introduced into the Justice League, because the Green Lantern Corps doesn't need the Justice League. They're like the policemen of outer space, so to speak, or the Guardians of the Galaxy in the DC Universe, true Guardians of the Galaxy, because there are a whole legion of them. So I'm hoping that the Green Lantern is finally done correctly when it comes to film. Of course, I separate comic books from film, but I'm just saying, when that finally occurs, and hopefully I'll still be around on planet Earth when that's done, that is done the right way. Anyway, this is book number 1, issue number 1, and it also features John Stewart in this book, a story based off of him, of the Green Lantern Corps. All right, so issue number 1, Green Lantern, and I did get my Green Lantern ring, which is what they actually featured. The Green Lantern ring, as a DC did, as a prop promotion with the comic book. Well, no big deal. I actually do have a Green Lantern ring, by the way. All right, let's keep it moving. And then also we have the DC Primer. And speaking of James Gunn and the revamping or rebooting of the DC Universe, this book, to my understanding, is supposed to actually kind of give how can I say it, a premiere, so to speak, of what to expect in the DCU movies. That's what I heard. What about this book? It's introducing or reintroducing characters we already know, but what to expect from the DCU going forward once James Gunn actually starts producing those movies. So yeah, this is a free book, by the way, offered by comic book shops, and it came out last week. So these comic books are about a week old, but and it says they're free special edition. Let's get that glare out of there. So, and I'm just now getting a chance to show them, because again, I was busy this weekend, all 3 days, and that was mainly being at the Motor City Comic Con. I had a blast. All right. This book I picked up from Motor City Comic Con. This is a variant cover which features Batman on the cover. This is Batman issue 111. I had to get that. I thought that was an awesome cover. And although it says $5.99 on the cover, This is actually in the dollar rack. See, at the comic, that's the benefit of going to comic book shops, comic cons, and free comic book day, because they put a lot of their comics on sale. Let me get some of this glare out of there. That is an awesome cover of Batman sitting in his chair, and I believe, and he's in the Batcave. I seen a video where XM Studios actually produced a statue just like this. The statue is absolutely awesome. It's like, I think about $2 or $3 for the statue. It is absolutely an absolute awesome statue, but this looks like the design concept that they used to design the statue from this comic book cover. And that is really nice there. This is written by James Tynion, the same writer for Something is Killing the Children from Boom Studios. All right, love that artwork there. And then next up we have the Batman Who Laughs, from the same line, from the same story, I believe. The Batman Who Laughs, by, was it Zack Snyder? Was it Scott Snyder? Yeah, new character introduced, of course, in the Batman comics a few years ago, about 2 years ago? A year ago, 2 years ago? I don't really know much about the cover, but about the character rather. This is a variant cover, and again, I got this from a dollar bin at Motor City Comic Con. Thank you, Motor City Comic Con. And then another very cool Batman story. This is Batman Black and White. I remember I was collecting this series, and I stopped for some reason, not that from lack of interest, basically lack of funds, but I had to pick up this cover because I really, really like the way that is drawn. It's from, this is issue number 1 from the Batman Black and White series. Okay. DC Comics. Excuse me. Okay, and let's see, let's keep it moving. And this I picked up too from Motor City Comic Con. Very controversial cover here. We're about to get into our Marvel comic books now. This is Black Panther. This is this is when comic books were 25 cents. And this is from KMP Comics, and this was sold to me for a reasonable price. It was actually worth more than what I bought it for, what I purchased it for, but this is a classic comic. This is Black Panther fighting the Ku Klux Klan. And me and one of the, his name was Robert, one of the owners of the shop, we got into a really deep conversation about this comic book cover, as well as other comic books that happen to deal with social issues about politics and things like that, and having politics and social issues in comic books. On the cover it says, an all-new Black Panther epic beginning in the heart of civilization, T'Challa battles the primitive power of the Klan. This is from the Sacrifice of Bloodline. So very interesting cover there. I'm not going to get into the premises of the conversation, but it was a very positive, very uplifting and inspirational conversation, very deep conversation, like I said. You don't see too many comic books like this nowadays, but in the current time that we're living in, this would spawn a lot of controversy from, well, certain people who have mindsets that they don't agree with certain issues being taught when it comes to racism, which is what this is dealing with. You know, there's been a lot of controversy surrounding that issue. And again, it was just a deep conversation between myself and that gentleman. I'm glad that they had this book in their stock. I'm glad I was able to purchase it and add it to my own collection. It speaks volumes, because unfortunately times have not changed very much. There are people who still have hatred in their heart towards others who are different from them. All right, anyway, let's keep it moving. So now we get back into the modern comics released from Marvel. And this is the Danny Ketch Ghost Rider. This is issue number 1. And they actually have a short box of this too that I seen at Comic-Con. And I didn't purchase that, unfortunately, but I'm glad to have this book. This is the other Ghost Rider, aside from the one that ones that we're familiar with. Yeah, so Danny Ketch, Ghost Rider issue number 1 by Maki Picciotto and Guru FX. And then we get into the regular Ghost Rider run. Okay. And that's issue number 14 by Benjamin Percy, with Smith, Peoples Jr. and Valenza contributing to this story. Plus says it has a story guest starring Taguchi, whoever that is. So I guess there's an additional story included with this one. All right. Another cool cover there. And then we have Cosmic Ghost Rider issue number 3. And I said I was actually going to stop with issue number 2. This is Cosmic Ghost Rider versus Valkyrie. Valkyrie, of course, who is an Asgardian. Okay. Yeah, interesting cover there. And next up, we get into Invincible Iron Man. This is issue number... Is it 6? Yeah, issue number 6. And I like that they have this approved by the Stark Code Authority, which is a throwback to the comic book authority. And just a brief story on that is basically when comic books had become a little bit too controversial and had too many adult themes in them, and they were not deemed appropriate for children to read, and they started the Comic Book Code Authority thing. I think that was back in the 60s or whatnot. I actually seen a gentleman walking around Comic-Con with that logo on his shirt. So yeah, but this is kind of like a spin-off or a parody of that, approved by the Stark Code Authority. Very cool. And again, this is written by Jerry Duggan. Then we have I Am Iron Man. I'm sure a Sequential Geek, he does comic book videos too, and he probably give you a better history of the history of the Comic Book Code Authority than I could. So anyway, this is I Am Iron Man issue number 3 by Ayodele and Akande. All right. Looks like he's holding lightsabers or something. Interesting. Then we have issue number 6 of Miles Morales Spider-Man. A lot of rave reviews coming out of this from this book. This is from the Carnage Reigns storyline issue part 2 of 7 by Ziglar, Vincentini, and Valenza. Interesting cover there. Okay. And then we have The Amazing Spider-Man issue number 25, Whatever Happened to Mary Jane. Nice cover there. So by Zeb Wells, I believe, Andrews. And of course, the very familiar art of John Romita Jr. And as I've said before, I'm not really the biggest fan of John Romita, but I do think he is one of the best artists to draw Spider-Man. And then, of course, I know he collaborated with Mark Millar for the Kick-Ass series, which I think his artwork was very, very, very well done for that series, and necessary for that series too. So, yeah, Spider-Man issue number 25. Okay, next up we have Daredevil plus a guest starring Iron Fist story. I think they started, this is issue number 11, by the way, of Daredevil. They started doing a Iron Fist story, but I think it phased out or something, or they canceled it. I'm not sure what happened. I long to see a good Iron Fist and Luke Cage story eventually spawn out of the Marvel Comics group. Eventually, especially with Luke Cage. I haven't seen a Luke Cage comic in a while. He's been featured, in some of the Avengers comic books, but I want to see him have his own solo series again eventually. And Iron Fist, as I mentioned as well. All right. Anyways, issue number 11 of Daredevil. Very, very cool cover there by Chip Zdarsky, with De La Torre and Wilson contributing. I like that, especially that cityscape. Almost looks like Boston or something like that. Boston, Massachusetts. And then we get into Fantastic Four, issue number 700. Wow. Well, issue number 7, but the 700th issue of the Fantastic Four. All right. I'm kind of way behind on my Fantastic Four reading, but I'm glad I'm still collecting the books. And this is the artwork of course, Alex Ross. Very notable, very recognizable. Sometimes you don't necessarily need to read the inside or cover to recognize the artistry of some artists. You know, especially if you've been reading and collecting comic books as long as I have. The artwork just becomes familiar once you see it anywhere. Then we have Predator number 3 with the 20th Century Fox logo in the corner there. I'm really liking how they're doing this, because of course Predator was produced by 20th Century Fox, or distributed by 20th Century Fox, but of course they're owned by Disney now, who owns 20th Century Fox, and they're on the Marvel label. This is written by Ed Brisson with Neto Diaz, Belardino Bravo, and Eric Arciniga as contributors to this story. Writer, artists, penciler, colorist. Issue number 3, Predator. And then we have Cold War Part 3, Black Widow Strikes, Captain America Sentinel of Liberty, issue number 12. Okay. And then the X-Men. Where would we be without the X-Men? It's issue number 22 by Jerry Duggan. We have MODOK on the cover there. And then several X-Men characters spinning out of the Jonathan Hickman storyline. And of course, Mr. Sinister. We just got through dealing with Sins of Sinister storyline not too long ago, and we got the spin-off stories from that happening right now. But this is the X-Men mainline storyline. And again, this is issue number 22. And that's it. We're back to DC Comics, where we started, Green Lantern issue number 1. So I hope that you've enjoyed this comic book haul. Please like, share, and subscribe, and comment as well. Tap the notification bell so you can get more videos like this as I post them immediately. Thank you for joining me. And everyone, have a happy Comic Book Wednesday, today being May 24th. Peace, love, and here grease.